And now we are beginning to discover third chapter.
And as it's not a surprise anymore, third chapter starts not with a continuation of the previous stories that we read outside of the town Marburg. In chapter 3, we are brought back to our reader who's reading the novel. But it doesn't start with it at first. When we start reading the chapter, we can see how author clearly describes the process of reading. He describes the book as a paper knife, so you are opening the pages, you're wrapping the page, and you're reading it, and he describes all the senses that are involved, which are auditory, visual, tactile, and mental. So when I started reading it, I thought, oh, what will it be about? I thought that it would be about another story, but luckily we're brought back to our reader. So he describes how the reader gets confused when he sees different names, different characters, and he says, like, even the names are not connected to the book's background, because it's supposed to be the book of one country, but the characters have different names, not belonging to the names of that country, for example. So then some pages are blank, and we are brought back to the reader, and we are caught him in the process when he is thinking about another reader. He thinks, okay, is another reader also confused? And he calls her. He calls our Lyudmila. However, she will not pick up the phone. Her sister will pick up the phone, and they start talking. We are introduced to the little conversation happening between the reader and between how was her name? Lotaria. And they start talking. And she even, I actually assumed that she is interested in him, because she, right?
I actually felt so too, a little bit, because she showed some interest for him and asked him to come to her session or something like that.
Right, yes, and I thought exactly the same, because why would she do that? But he wouldn't like to, he wouldn't actually try to promise something. He says, oh, I will see, and so he will not be kind of, someone who promised and didn't show up.
I remember that he said something like, be careful, don't say like
anything.
Too much, yes.
Right, yes.
He was like afraid of her, something.
Lyudmila, right?
Yeah.
Right, yes. And suddenly Lyudmila comes in the phone, because she hears what they were talking about, and he was actually talking about the confusion he was faced with when he was reading the book, because it was blank again, so no ending again, no continuation. And he starts talking about this with his sister, but suddenly Lyudmila appears on the phone. But before that, her sister says shocking thing to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says what?
She says
Like, she doesn't give his phone to strangers. Like that.
Oh, that Lyudmila gave her phone. Actually, she gives her phone to the strangers, not to the people she trusts. So that confused our reader, because he thinks like, is she afraid of me or something like this?
Like, or doesn't she trust me?
Or some thoughts came to his mind, like, what does it mean? He wanted to know more about
Right.
this.
Yes, exactly. And this feeling of confusion, like, she says, oh, it's actually not Irina's phone, so she's not here. Like, don't ever call here, because Lyudmila is not here, he says. She says.
Yes, like he feels like some detachment or like some
Right.
distance between them because of
Yes.
this. Because he was like, I guess hoping for something more.
Right, yes. He was so thrilled to call her, and then she doesn't pick up the phone, her sister pick up the phone, and his emotions go down, but suddenly they go up because Ludmila appears on the phone and says, "Oh, I really wanted to talk to you about it. Like, did you also notice that there is no continuation, something like that?" And they kind of agreed upon meeting somewhere. And they agreed upon meeting at the university.
Because Ludmila knows Professor Uzi Tuzi, who is a professor of language of Department of Bothno-Ugaric languages. So, from this moment, the reader is hoping to catch up with Mila, but unfortunately for him, she is not going to meet up with him before they will go to the professor. So he arrives to the university, but he describes that people are different, and like he doesn't know if we, the actual readers, are feeling indifferent assurance in the university, or if we are feeling comfortable there. So, but he describes that he is lost. So then, after a long time of searching, he meets a lanky young man that asks him, "You are waiting for Ludmila?" That was surprising for the reader, because that was, "How did you know?" That man says that he needs one glance to understand what is going on. So he, if the reader is going to discover if he really knows everything, and asks this young man about Ludmila, and he wants to know more from him, and this young guy says that Ludmila has always looked for a place where she could find a peace and read her books, and this place is Uzi Tuzi's room, and this was but he couldn't know anything else. So this guy's name is Irnerio, and they talk about a little bit about books, and he takes him to the professor's department, where the talk with the professor starts, and that was actually very playful talk, because professor is asking if he knows Ludmila, while he knows that that some guy will come with Ludmila, because she called him before this meeting. But our reader knows that Ludmila is hiding in his classroom, so he is going to take off the suspicion from himself, and says that she's going to be in a moment, or something like this. And that was really interesting dialogue, I guess.
Right.
Did you feel this, like, game nature of the dialogue?
Yes, I also felt it, and we are kind of more accustomed to the feelings of the reader, and we're not accustomed to the feelings of Ludmila, so we don't know anything about her inner world. So we're introduced only to the reader, like to the main reader himself. So we see his thoughts inside, and even at that moment, I realized that maybe the book, even on a winter's night, a traveler, is about the reader, because he's kind of always traveling and searching for something.
Actually, I don't know yet. Yeah, I'm confused a little bit.
Me too.
Then they talk about Sumerian language that this professor teaches.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asking him about the continuation of the book they are searching for,
Yes, and then suddenly they start talking about the Sumerian language, right? And he says, like the professor says, this is the language of dead.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist anymore. Did it ever exist?
Actually, yes. And he's disappointed now that this language is in extinction because a lot of students are choosing sociology and psychology, and this like they are replacing this language with other courses. So the reader asks him about this about the book, which has characters Grizzly and Zwide that we discovered before. So at that moment, Professor becomes excited and takes up one book with that he knows the same characters with. So,
Yes.
but at the moment when the reader listens to the reads this book, he immediately understands that names in this book has nothing in common with the one he had begun earlier.
Right, yes. And let's now talk about our reflections.
Okay.
Well, in this chapter, I was really intrigued because we are accustomed to the reader again and we see the kind of the plot continuation. Like we are not abruptly ended from that part when the reader was introduced. Now we see where it is going. And I actually now started realizing that maybe this novel is about him. Like he's reading and we're kind of observing it.
I guess so. It is interesting that we still don't know the name of the reader. He is just the reader who discovers other readers.
Yes, and we are kind of not. We are just observing him, right?
We are observing us. Well, in this chapter, I could feel the feelings of the reader. I could relate to him because I am also interested. How will we know? Will we discover the endings of the chapters of the novels that we read?
Yes, and I would say that this book is far more the most interesting book that I've ever read because it's twisting. It makes you engaged.
Yes, but I still have sometimes like moments of
Frustration?
No. Sometimes I sit and remember these novels that we read and like, what happened there next? I'm not satisfied. I guess yes. I continue to recall these novels and I want to know that's not enough for me.
Yes, like you are not reaching the end result.
Yes.
You still see the abrupt kind of fractions of the book and you don't see the whole picture yet.
Yes, I hope we will know the endings of the novels.
Me too.